and welcome. We are here for Ashley's Heart Song, and this is the place where we get back into our body, our life, and our business. We don't allow stress in freely. We want to capture it. We want to master it. We want to bring ourselves to a place of centeredness with the body, the soul, and the spirit. And this is the Three Brains approach to getting exactly what you would love out of your life. So welcome. I am Ashley Torian, your host here on Ashley's Heart Song. We are on the Win-Win Women TV network, and I am so grateful that you are with me, whether it's live or whether you have captured this recording somewhere. I am so glad that you found me. All right, so today is a really fun topic. We are going to have a conversation around saboteurs and what they do to us in our life. And I say that in a very interesting way, what they do to us, because doesn't it feel sometimes like something is doing something to you and you cannot get ahead, and something is happening to you, and really all the while we opened up the doorway for it to happen to us, which I know that's really hard to hear, but that is what we do as human beings. It's just the way we're made up. So, but this program today is going to help you be able to master those saboteurs and to walk through them, be able to recognize them when they come in the door. But first, before we go any further, let's check out our vitality score. We have not done this in a couple of weeks. So let's see how you are doing with your mental, physical, emotional, and spiritual health vitality. All right, so let's start with the mental. Between 1 and 10, where are you today? Is your mind creating all that you would love, or is your mind a little bit in the muck puddle? Just give it a score of 1 to 10, 10 being, you are knocking it out of the park. Physical fitness. So physically, how do you feel in your body? How do you feel? Do you feel at peace in your body, or do you feel like you're at war with your body? If you're at peace with your body and you've got plenty of energy, then you're at a 10 or close to it. Or if you're at war with your body, you could be scoring closer around the 1 and the 2 marker. Then your emotional fitness. How are you emotionally? Do you feel balanced? Do you feel like there's an ebb and flow to your emotions this week? Or do you find that you are just sitting on a fence waiting to tip over, right? The Humpty Dumpty syndrome, knock you off and you'll shatter to pieces. So where are you on that spectrum of 1 to 10? 10 being you've got it all together this week. Yay! And then we have our spiritual health. Where are you spiritually? Do you feel like you're connected? You're listening. Are you listening? Have you allowed the Lord to have the floor, or have you stolen the spotlight? What's going on with your spiritual life? Are you at a 10 where you are listening more than you are speaking? Or are you closer to a 1? You're doing a lot of talking and 0 listening, right? So add those scores up. The closer you are to 40 is great, right? That means you are working the system. You're working your craft. You are noticing, you're being in awareness. But if you are below the 25 marker, then there is some work to do. So you just capture whatever area that was in: mental, physical, emotional, or spiritual. See which one it's in. And just this week, focus on one. Don't focus on all of them at the same time. Just focus on one of those areas where you want to put some attention to. And if you found that your mental was lower this week than typical, or maybe that's just where your struggle's been, then today's program is going to be very beneficial for you. So welcome to our wonderful, wonderful show today. Play big and never, ever, ever give up. How about this? Play to win and never, ever give up. Don't give up, like ever. That's what you see in the background of my studio here. It says, don't give up, like ever, ever. So we play to win. Are you playing to win in your life? Or are you just, you want to win, but golly, it's so hard. Those nasty little saboteurs show up and knock you off the wall, and You just don't know how to get back up again, right? Sometimes the saboteurs can get at us again and again and again and again to where it feels like we are black and blue and we don't know how to get back up. It happens. It happens for us. And this is not something to go into judgment about. That's one of the saboteurs. That's the head saboteur. So you have this board of directors of the mind, and the chairman of the board is your judge. And this is all in the ego mind, right? Not who you are. This is your ego mind. You have the board of director, which is the judge, and then you have all of the little chairpersons, and those are the accomplice saboteurs. And they can hold a party some days, and other days they're very quiet. Have you noticed that? And when you are in this awareness, and that's the first thing I'm going to call you to be in for this topic today, is just be in a state of awareness, not judgment. Don't let the judge come in and take over and tell you what a loser you are because you can't seem to accomplish that goal you've set out to accomplish. So when it comes to these saboteurs, there's an excerpt from a book I want to read out loud to you. This is by Shahrzad Shamin, and this is Positive Intelligence. And it's why 20% of the people are the ones that achieve success, while the other 80% are the ones that are going, what happened? Why can't I get this? Right? 20% of the people have success and 80% don't. Why? Saboteurs, the chair people that are living in your ego mind. So let me read this out to you. Think about it. Why are most New Year's resolutions abandoned year after year? See if you can connect with this, y'all. Why do most dieters succumb to yo-yo dieting? Why does that nagging and anxious voice in our head keep returning to torture us when we're trying to sleep? Why is our increased happiness so fleeting after we achieve what we thought would bring lasting happiness? Why do leadership skills acquired in workshops soon give way to old habits? Why do expensive team building retreats only result in temporary blips in team cohesion and performance? We are being tortured and punished. But the catch is this torture is self-inflicted. The reason why so many of our attempts at improving our success or happiness fizzle is that we sabotage ourselves. Our own minds sabotage us. So our mind is our best friend, but it's also our worst enemy. Undetected saboteurs in the mind cause most of your setbacks without your full awareness, and the consequences are huge. 20% of individuals and teams achieve their true potential. The rest of us waste a lot of our time and vital energy working, and never getting ahead. How many of you does that resonate with? It's a lot, isn't it? How many New Year's resolutions have you set for yourself around your weight, around what foods you are wanting to eat, around grocery shopping, around exercising? Those are the most popular New Year's resolutions, and they are also the most popular New Year's resolutions that fail. How about in the financial arena? How many times have you set a goal to maybe get yourself out of debt or to start making more money? Whatever that financial goal is, maybe it is to contribute to an organization. Maybe it's to build up your savings. But more than likely, it fails because the saboteurs are running the show of the mind. They've just been allowed the floor, when all the while it is your mind, the mind of you, the mind of who you really are, is the one that can take that floor back. How do we take it back? First, we begin seeing the saboteurs and what they're doing, how they're at work in your life. We have hyperachiever, hyper-rational, hyper-vigilant. We have the pleaser, the controller. We have the avoider. Which one are you? There are several more. I think there's 2 more. And my mind is restless and victim. Those are the others. And stickler. Those are those chair persons, the accomplished saboteurs that will step in and keep you from succeeding and achieving that goal. So how do we do this? How do we, once we see them, once we notice that they're present, what do we do with it? Because how many of you have noticed a behavior that you've had or a bad habit that you've had? You've been aware of it, but then what happened? You went right back to that old pattern again. The old pattern, because why? Because we are on autopilot the majority of the time of our life. We automatically buy groceries the way that we've always bought groceries. We may have good intentions with our list, but what happens when you're going up and down the aisles? You begin picking up those foods that you used to, that were the old pattern. What about exercise habits? You have a really good idea of what you'd love to start doing exercise-wise, and you start doing it only to start going back into the habit of not doing it. Those are saboteurs that have been given free rein, and you are operating in the autopilot syndrome, so to speak. We're not present a lot of the time. When I really noticed this was when I was personal fitness training, and I was driving all over towns, all day long, going to see client after client after client. And there was one time when I had left a client's home and I got to another client's home, and I do not remember the drive getting there. My mind was so wrapped up in something else that I was on autopilot going from one location to another. And I wondered when I got to that place, how did my brain know it was Tuesday and not Wednesday? How did I know? Because I had I am going to leave this home and I am going to this home. There was no conscious awareness around that at all. We truly have these beautiful neural pathways that get engrooved. And when we allow the mind to have a life of its own, it will get us from point A to point B, and we will never even realize it. But guess what? There is good news here, because those neural pathways, the ones that get us into trouble, which driving me from point A to point B was great, right? It was good, but I really need to be more aware, truly. However, what about in tying our shoes? We don't want to have to think about tying our shoes. We love that our brain can do this. We love that we can be on autopilot for mundane tasks. Y'all, it's the important things that I'm talking about. It's when we are wanting to change a pattern, and instead of consciously changing it, we are going on autopilot. That's what we're speaking to here. And that is when those saboteurs can start running the show, and you will begin doing things that you wish that you hadn't. These saboteurs block our good intentions. It gives us the inability to make a decision, or we make a bad decision. This one I love. We are forced to make or to learn the same lesson over and over and over and over and over again. How many times have you learned the same thing over and over and over again? How many times have you maybe paid off your debt only to get right back in debt again? How many times have you gone on a diet, lost the weight only to gain it back? How many times have you promised that you were going to start doing this service with this organization only to not carry on with it after the first or second time? These are only the saboteurs at work, y'all. We don't have to learn the same lesson over and over again. The point here is that we want to that the saboteurs are weakening our self-command muscle, our ability to go, wait, no. What I want to do is this. The saboteurs have just weakened this because the saboteurs are on autopilot. They are patterns that are stored in our subconscious mind that just keep showing up. And we go, oh, good, I don't have to think about it. It's going to get done. No, 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 no. We got to think about it. We become what we think most about. So if you don't like where you're at, physically, mentally, emotionally, or spiritually, then you can thank your saboteurs for that. You can thank your autopilot syndrome for that. So if you don't like where you are in any one of those categories, then it's time to be present. It's time to be aware. Because when you're not aware is when bad habits show up. And that's the moment when you would love, love, love to do it differently. You would love to do it differently, but you don't, because the old pattern, that habit of behavior, shows up and it repeats all over again. So what are we going to do? So I've got 3 points I want to share with you today around the mental, physical, and emotional side of it. And mentally, something I want you to understand is that your triggers that are stored in your subconscious mind are what's running the show of your life. So if you want to be the one at the helm, then we got to notice the triggers. And if you know emotional resolution, which is a tool that I teach in all of my programs, if you know that, you can get rid of those triggers. But then also you can work with your saboteurs. And by working with those saboteurs, you can eliminate most of those mental triggers. We have baby nerve cells, which I've shared this in another episode before. We have baby nerve cells that are born every single night. We have the opportunity every single day. We have the opportunity to renew our mind, to nourish those baby nerve cells with positivity instead of negativity or letting the saboteurs run the show. So because we have those baby nerve cells, you know how when you have a baby in your arms, all of your attention is on the baby. Your attention is on that baby. Right now, I have a little puppy. My attention is on my puppy all the time. And when the puppy's not with me, the puppy is put away in a kennel into safety so that I know that that puppy is safe. So what are you doing with your baby nerve cells? Are you tending to them, nourishing them, reinforcing good behaviors, reinforcing the patterns that you want? Because the more you nourish those baby nerve cells, the more that neural pathway is engrooved. And the more it's engrooved, the more it's used, the more it produces nourishing thoughts. When it's producing nourishing thoughts, and that's happening over and over and over again, it becomes one of your main points of focus. The healthy, nourishing thought becomes part of who you are. And that begins producing more of what you love in your life. So beautiful. You are what you think about, so be present and aware every given moment. So how we condition our mind, starting in the mornings until we lay our head down for sleep, is of utmost importance. How are you conditioning your mind all throughout the day? I encourage you to take little breaks through the day. This is a little tool that you can use. And if you are interested in hearing more about this type of mental fitness work, then please reach out to me. I would love to share it with you. But this point of mental fitness is about taking breaks throughout the day to come back into presence, to train your mind to be present at any given moment that you say it's to be present. It's like training a puppy. You are bringing it to awareness all the time, not chewing things, right? So you want its point of focus to be on what it can chew on, not what it's not supposed to chew on. Think about that as your mind. Your mind can chew on thoughts. You want it to chew on thoughts that are beneficial and nourishing and life-giving versus the opposite. Because if it's the opposite, if it's on the negative side, it's going to be a saboteur that is going to just take that full on and run with it and carry you away in the meantime. So our brain follows our mind You are the mind of you, and your brain will follow whatever you focus on. So if you are the orchestrator of your mind, the master of your mind, and you're dictating what it's to think about, then your brain will follow suit and start eating it up. Eating it up. So choose how you condition your mind every day and take little breaks to bring it into awareness. And at the end of the show today, I'm going to be going through a little thing that you can do that will help with that endeavor. So every given moment, we have the ability to shift our power from the saboteurs running the show, or what we call our sage powers running the show. Which would you love? Sage power just sounds so much more gooder. It sounds better. It sounds more nourishing. And our sage powers are beautiful. When we're in sage, we have 3 gifts that are just nourishing to us. And we want to hone in on those gifts, but then we also want to utilize all the powers that sage brings us. And when we're talking about sage, that's being on the love side of emotion, kindness, goodness, gentleness, right? All of the fruits of the spirit, all of the sacred metabolizers, all of the love-based emotions. That's what our sage power is about, is being on that side of the spectrum instead of the saboteur side of the spectrum. So physically, when our saboteurs are running the show, our energy decreases. So if you've ever noticed, maybe mid-afternoon, you think, oh my gosh, I am so tired, I could go take a nap. I am exhausted. Well, most likely you have been wrestling with saboteurs all day long, because they drain the energy tank faster than ever. The hyperachiever, I love so much, because the hyperachiever will keep you busy on how to make something so good, almost leaning into perfection around it. But you've got to, it's this push, and you got to keep pushing and keep pushing and keep pushing until you achieve it, until you get to the highest. That's what that hyperachiever does. So if you're wrestling with the hyperachiever, it's pushing you and egging you to go forward, but you are scared to death to do it, then you're going to have all of these reasons show up as to why you can't go forward. That's the hyperachiever at work in your life. And the judge comes in, swoops in and says, oh, no. You can't achieve that because you're not good enough. You're not worthy enough. You're not talented enough. Y'all know that voice, don't you? And when you're inundated with that and you're at war with that, the energy drains right out of you. Your confidence goes down the toilet, and you end up in the muck puddle knee deep, and you don't get anything done. Isn't that interesting how the hyperachiever, it'll sign you up for everything, but it never allows you to get anything done. Never achieve anything. That hurts. What about the stickler? The stickler, things need to be done this way or they are not done at all. It must be like this. The stickler. There is a way to do it, and it must be done that way or it's not good enough. So you're continually fighting with that not good enough, and that sucks the energy right out of you. What about the pleaser? Having to step in and please everything and everyone, not wanting anyone's feelings to be hurt. And you're working so hard to word things just right so that no one is offended. Or you've got to put the perfect party on so that that person loves you. But guess what? The party's never going to be perfect, and that person will never love you the way that you want them to. That will suck the energy right out of you. That's just an example of 3 of the saboteurs at work. That when you allow them run of the show, physically, your body's going to break down. You're going to lose and notice your energy loss first, but then the body begins to break down. pains begin to show up. Joints hurt. You become stiff. You could begin to gain weight because you start eating the emotion. The saboteurs do not paint a pretty picture, and it doesn't lead to a very satisfying life, especially physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, all of them. But physically, your body will break down if you keep listening to the saboteurs. That's unfortunate. So what's keeping what saboteur is keeping you from being physically fit? That is a really good question, isn't it? What is keeping you from being physically fit? And maybe let's ask that question on mental fitness. What is keeping you from being mentally fit? Which saboteur is showing up for you to keep you from being mentally fit or physically fit? Let's step into emotional fitness. Every thought, I think this is so cool. Every thought has an emotional component to it that's stored in your subconscious mind. But you don't feel the emotion until the thought becomes conscious. So once you feel it, it is in your consciousness, your arena of thought. And the more emphasis you put on it and the more emotion, stress chemistry you feel, or feelings, the more of that you feel, that stress chemistry, the more it's going to become engrooved, and you will condition your mind to hop into that. So our emotions can really help us to determine if we are stepping into the saboteur arena. So in answer to the survey we were doing in the very beginning, when you were looking at your emotional fitness this week, are your emotions topsy-turvy? That means that there are thoughts that are being brought into the conscious state that are releasing that emotion chemistry that is allowing you to feel it. Think about this. If you had never thought about it, you would never be feeling what you're feeling. So what triggered the thought into consciousness? Y'all, this is so fascinating. What triggered that thought into consciousness? That's what you want to get to. That's when you notice, you go, oh my goodness, that saboteur completely showed up right there. I was walking over to my office to start working on a program. I don't know, and all of a sudden I started feeling a certain way. Why? Because a thought entered my mind that the hyperachiever brought in, the stickler, the pleaser, the controller, who knows? They brought something in. There was an experience that happened around you that triggered it. And now all of a sudden you're filled with that emotion. The saboteur sits in waiting until you feel the emotion. Then, bam, he's got you. And you react, and the saboteur wins. So how do we stop that from happening? I'm going to list those saboteurs again so you can begin looking at them. So we've got the judge, which is the main one, right? He's the saboteur. And then we have these accomplice saboteurs called the hyperachiever, hypervigilant, hyperrational. We have the controller, the pleaser, the stickler, the victim, the avoider, and restless. So when they appear, when one appears, when you notice, oh my gosh, I don't feel good, what just happened? Just stop. You're in awareness, you noticed. Congratulate yourself, pat yourself on the back for that. But then just be there, present. And be in sensorial presence, meaning get out of your head and get into your senses. You can do this through the sound of your breath. You can do it through what you're looking at, what you're hearing, what you feel. You can rub your fingertips against each other and feel the ridges of the thumbprint and the fingerprint. Feel the break in the knuckle as you go down. You can feel the chair against your back. Anything that one of your senses can pick up, bring it in and solely focus on that. It could be the air conditioner, and where you just focus on the air conditioner for a moment. You're doing a senses break. That's all you're doing. And what that does is it stops the momentum of the mind from doing this, and you get out of the saboteur warping and you go right into your body. So the head brain is now in observation mode, and it's observing one of the senses, and you're just noticing it. Focus is on one sense. And then after about 30 seconds of that, don't set a timer. Just do it do it. And then once you feel, okay, I can bring in another sense, then bring in another sense and see if you can focus on two of those at the same time for a length of time. You want to be in this state for about 2 minutes. Don't rush it. We're wanting the brain to stop the warp spinning and you to be centered, present, focused. We're strengthening your self-command muscle. And what that is it's you having the ability to say, brain, stop. I'm the one that's running the show here. Pop. That's what you want. You want to have control of that brain and you telling the brain what it's going to do. And right now you're telling the brain to focus on one or two senses, and that's it. You've given the job that brain, and that's all it's to do. You are increasing your self-awareness and your self-command muscle. Do that for about 2 minutes. And then when you're done with that, then you can come back to the situation and go, all right, I've got this really big report that I need to get out. What's my first step? And you begin exploring all your options. What are all the options that you have moving forward? Explore is one of your sage powers. There's several of them, but that's one that I'd love to give you today, is about exploring. Explore that power. Explore the steps, the active steps that you can take in order to get that job done. If it's simply grocery shopping, you just went on a tailspin, making out your grocery list, going into freak out dance over the emotions around the food you can't eat anymore. Stop, take a pause, a senses pause, bring those senses into play. And then, all right, let's address this grocery list and begin your grocery list again. And you'll notice that you're no longer in that freak out mode. Now you're in taking personal responsibility for your health mode. When we explore all of the options and all the steps that we can do, our perspective begins to broaden and we begin to see the bigger picture. We also have a Hawkeye view of the experience and all of the legs of it. You know, we have an experience, and there are all these legs of perspective. When you go exploring, you begin to see all of those perspectives and you begin to see a solution. Because we're never going to find the solution to our problem of grocery list making or creating working on a project, creating a program, we're never going to see the solution inside of that when we stay in the muck of the saboteur. The solution's not found there. The solution is found when you rise out and you are a sage. You're in your sage power of explore, innovate, empathy, activate. When you're in those powers, that is when you're going to find a solution. You won't find it anywhere else. Oh, and navigate. Navigate was another power. So you have within you the power, the capability to be able to be part of those 20% that get it done and live a life they love. All you've got to do is be present and see those saboteurs and address them when you see them. This is a passion of mine, getting mentally fit, emotionally fit. And it is. And I do want to just share with you, I have 2 programs that are designed around both of those. There's a mental fitness program and there is an emotional fitness program. And if you are interested in either one of those, please reach out to me. You can message me through Facebook. You can also message me through Instagram. You can find me on YouTube, Ashley's Heart Song, or under Ashley Torian. And I would love to help you, guide you into becoming mentally and emotionally fit, so you feel energized and increased health and vitality of the physical body. And then spiritual fitness is just woven all inside of that. Remember, we get back whatever we put into it. So if you would love to live according to the song of your heart, then I encourage you to get mentally, physically, emotionally, and spiritually fit. Bring it all together to make up the whole you. And that is where vitality and vibrancy resides. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much for being with me today on Ashley's Heart Song. I am so grateful that you have been with me on this incredible topic around our nasty little saboteurs. And on the other side of that, we are so grateful for them because they can be some really good teachers. So thanks again for joining me on the Win-Win Women TV network here on Ashley's Heart Song. I look forward to seeing you every Monday at 3 p.m. Central Time right here. Much love and a big O hug. See ya.